This podcast is produced by Passion Nerdly in association with the Nerds Domain and our parent network, the Southgate Media Group. This podcast could not exist without their support or from support by Patreons like you. For more information on how you can get involved, visit PassionNerdly.com.
I remember stories from when I was younger. Tales of when the Empire grew vengeful and hunted the clans to the point of extinction. There were masters of deception, spies without equal, warriors of extraordinary ability. This is the legend of a brave few who fought to change the course of history and end the time of woe and terror. Our story begins at the Wooden Dojo.
So hi, and welcome back to the Wooden Dojo. This is the GM, John, and today I am joined by... Kevin. And this is going to be an interesting game. This is going to be a semi-one-shot and also one player. So we're doing a very focused story, but this story will also specifically involve a character that's not a part of our main team. This is actually Kevin's other character, Manabe Saburo. This is actually the basis of our campaign. I mean, before we kicked off the Wooden Dojo, we had a game that is available on for download and listening on Seriously Let's Play, and that is the prequel to this game that is taking place now. And it sets up the whole Sakamoto Echo estate issue and the disappearance of her. And Manabe is a part of the team that dealt with that. So we're actually returning to this character and going to be dealing with other actions that are happening at the same time, or roughly the same time, as the team that is in the capital city of Daiwa. So there's a whole big team that everybody's been listening to on Wooden Dojo that is there in Daiwa, and this is another character, Manabe Saburo. And of course, this is also, we're doing this over the internet, so we're doing this as a call-in show, so there is going to be a difference in the audio quality, but I think it should still be very good. Kevin, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your character. Give us some description and everything.
Yeah, so Manabe Saburo is... he's much more what you think of when you think of a ninja, like assassin type person. My other character, Kanojo, is not a fighter. This guy is pretty much the exact opposite of that. He does not talk a whole lot. He does not mince words. He's a big fighter and assassin, and he's kind of short. He's real thin and wiry. He's got a real serious expression on his face most of the time. You know, a loose-fitting coat, but very tight-fitting clothes other than that. And carries a katana. And for this one, I've got a longbow, a Yumi, just in case I need to do some stuff from range. But that's it, as far as his physical description.
All right. And this character is also the only character in either party that is a member of the Recoiling Serpents. And for those of you who are new to the Ninja Crusade and haven't heard anything about it by, not listening to the prequel series or really not knowing the game itself, the Recoiling Serpents are kind of what you hear in the name. They are a group of ninja who their powers and their personalities are very much serpentine. A lot of their powers center around kind of snake aspects, I would say. And they are also the largest clan in the whole Ninja Crusade. So big, in fact, that we're going to be entering into the area of this world that is controlled by the Recoiling Serpents, which is actually known as the Triumph. There are different districts, different provinces, and this is the Triumph province of the Empire. It's the largest province, and it's also, strangely enough, the province that is contested. There are a lot of Imperial troops here, and it is very, very close to the hidden area for the ninja in Danketsu. It is not very far at all. It would probably be a very short travel from one of the most embattled cities of the Triumph Province to Danketsu. So, we're going to go ahead and start this story off. So, when last we left this group of heroes, Manabe Saburo and his teammates had boarded a boat and left the shores behind, escaping with Sakamoto Eko. It was in your character's company that she fell ill, and you were escorted by the rest of your team and one of her handmaidens. The other handmaiden remained behind with another member of your team, which will be another story coming up eventually. So, you escape across the sea and make your way back to Danketsu, all the while Sakamoto Eko's health is failing. You watch as the healer of your group just battles this poison that is coursing through her. And it's one of those things where your clan knows quite a bit about poisons, but this is not one that you are familiar with. So it is not something that you have been able to help out with. But you've watched the healer of your group attend to her and assist her and nurse her back to health. And while you are in the village of Danketsu, your clan, the Coiling Serpents, a call goes out for a conclave. That something big is happening that affects all of you. And there is a meeting that is going to be held at a secret location known only to your clan. So you gather your things up and depart to the Triumph District. Traveling into the Triumph District, this is a very odd location because when you think Triumph, you would think certain ideas come to mind. Maybe that it was a verdant area or beautiful, or that maybe there are roads and streets that are paved and there's a certain air and a significance to the area, and nothing could be further from the truth when it comes to the Triumph Province. Instead, this is an area that is very embattled. It is not impossible when traveling through the area of Triumph Province to either run into groups of ninja or to run into Imperial troops, both of which moving about, fighting each other in skirmishes. There are trenches, there are fortifications, and there are also swamps. Lots and lots of swamps with poisonous, vipers and other snakes that are there. You also have a lot of people, citizens of the Empire living in this area that are very hardy. The common person of this area has grown up exposed to the swamps, exposed to these, the poisonous creatures and everything else. And they are nearly immune to disease as well as to all the other problems here. They are a tough people. And they get along pretty well with the ninja. And to some extent, they are willing to get along with the Empire. For the most part, they just turn a blind eye to the whole conflict because, quite frankly, it's not theirs. They don't want to get involved. But you manage to travel your way through, avoiding patrols and everything else. Along the way, meeting up with several other groups of the Serpent Clan. And you find your way to one of the hidden little bases on the outskirts of Triumph Province. And it is a large group. You essentially arrive, and there are over 200 other ninjas of the clan there. Members of every rank and group possible. Some of them represent larger troops that are scattered throughout the area. Captains of groups, sometimes numbering up to 50 ninja. One of the primary figures there is an individual who they just called Old Snake. And he is considered kind of one of the leaders of the clan. The clan doesn't have a primary leader. It doesn't have a central figure. It has kind of a loose democracy where everyone listens to their elders. It's almost a mob rule kind of thing, but again, they defer to those who they consider worthy of their respect. The old snake is this older gentleman, wizened looking. It looks like age has shortened him a little bit. His shoulders are hunched, but there is a strength and a stature to him. There is, of course, the common trait to your clan, which is that your skin takes almost a serpentine, scaled appearance to it, making your skin kind of supple, very flexible. All over his body, you can almost see scales with a kind of white tinge to it. He has lived a very long time for someone who is a warrior and a member of a warrior clan. And he wears very simple clothing, but there is a certain air about him, an air of kind of nobility, but at the same time an air of danger, as if there is a reason that people possibly call him the Old Snake. It's like there is something about him that this tells you that he is dangerous. And so he's kind of in your clan, that would make him a figure of respect. He just moves kind of through the crowd and people part in front of him. Occasionally a few of them bow. He does pass by you. How do you react?
I'll give a short bow to him as well.
He briefly looks your way and nods. And everybody moves into a large central hut. Looks like this has been cleared out and made recently. It's thatch exterior, a few poles that have been put up, large fire in the center that illuminates the entire area, and most people just come in and sit directly down on the ground. The center of this structure is open to the sky, allowing the smoke to depart. It is quite a sight to see this many of your brethren gathered. The elders walk forward to the fire, holding out their arms. The old snake addresses the entire group.
I'm glad that all of you were able to come and join us here today. It has come to our attention that one of our allies may have betrayed us recently. A family and a group that has aided us in the past. Specifically, these charges are brought by one of our own.
And he looks to the exterior of the building and calls out,
Onimaru, come forward and present your evidence.
This is a name that you are familiar with. Onimaru is a kind of an up-and-coming star of the clan. He is known for being of rank. Many ninja follow him, and he is known for leading some of the most brutal campaigns against the Empire on behalf of the Recoiling Serpents. Legend of his level of power and accomplishments are just well known. But looking at him, it's one of those things where he is not what you'd normally expect. He is very lithe, very skinny, very tall as he walks into this gathering. He wears a very simple white kimono, long dark hair, partially covering his features. But again, that air of menace, different from what you get from the old snake, but still that feeling of this is someone to be wary of. But he strides into the tent and stands opposite of the old snake on the other side of this fire pit. And he looks around the room and gives a deep bow.
I have come here because I have heard that one of our allies, yes, as it was pointed out, the Hanos, have aligned with the Empire. For over 20 years, this family has aided us, giving us information on Daini Ryoku. This is, of course, one of our chief locations that we have tried to overthrow many times before, and very bitter and embattled position. Many of the times that we have been successful, it has been passed Ben by this family. And so I do not bring these accusations lightly, but I bring them anyway.
And he nods to his left, and another member, more likely one of his subordinates, walks forward and carries a stack of papers, walks around the fire, brings them over, bowing deeply and handing them to the old snake. The elder opens them up and looks them over and then looks back at Onimaru, and Onimaru continues.
These letters are correspondence between both the family of the Hanos and also the Empire, specifically the Emperor himself. If you look At the seals upon them, you will see that these are the signets of both these families. These are not things that can be faked. These are not things that can be manufactured easily. If you look through them with your eyes, Old Snake, you will see the truth of my words.
The elder is looking over the papers. He opens them each up and looks at the seals that are upon them. He sets the papers down next to him and nods.
What Onumaro says is true. There can be no doubt. The Hanos have turned against us.
And there is a murmur and a hissing that moves through the audience. One of the primary actions or primary things with the Serpent Clan, one of your triggers for your group. Do you remember what it is?
For the recoiling serpents, it should be when you engage in revenge against your goal and to your detriment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, as he said, with the recoiling serpents, they have a trigger that is called Rattle, Then the Bite. And this trigger is, the way it's worded in the book is, revenge is not just part of their teaching, but a way of life for the recoiling serpents. Unanswered wrongs or crimes against them burn to the core of their being and drives them to pursue vengeful actions, even when they are not practical. This, of course, gives their characters certain abilities and everything else. And the gift for your character is that the serpent gains 1 karma when they engage in revenge against the party's goals and to their detriment. Now, obviously, this doesn't exactly feed into that situation, but this definitely feeds into the behavior of the serpents. Hearing all this, how does your character react?
So, Saburo, if the listeners have listened to the original podcast with him, he kind of, was the big guy there. But here, he's with his own people. He considers these people like actual equals. So, he's kind of a small fish in this one. But he wants to change that. So, Saburo is going to, jumps up. Saburo steps out into, I guess there's a row or something that people have been walking in and out of. And he's going to say, these Hanos a lesson. And I think it should be me.
There are echoes throughout the chamber. I mean, when you do this, people are just yeah, to teach them a lesson. All sorts of things. Cut their eyes from their faces. Cut out their tongues. Rip them to shreds. Other members of the clan step forward also demanding the right for a revenge against this family. The old serpent, however, just with a quick motion, holds both his hands up, quieting the crowd. A almost instantaneous hush. This falls over everyone in respect.
Revenge is necessary. It calls to each and every one of us. And we know what our duty is for those who turn and strike at us. We strike back harder and fiercer.
And he looks across and says,
Onimaru, I take it that you have some sort of idea?
And Onimaru nods and looks across the crowd and looks to each person who has stood up and offered their aid and their action. His eyes briefly fall upon you, and he nods to each of you. I know that the Hanos have recently departed from their home and are traveling en masse on the road on their way to the capital. Their caravan is moving slowly, so we will have an opportunity to catch up with them. We will take them on the road and we will destroy them all. Not one individual will be left alive, and they will know our vengeance. There are looks around the room. I mean, people are nodding. Yeah, everyone's like, yeah, this sounds right. This is what we do. Your character, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I'm on board for finding this caravan and killing the lot of them.
The old snake, this kind of nods and...
Go. Gather those forces that you so choose. Strike, and strike quickly. We look forward to evidence of your victory.
Onimaru bows deeply and then calls out,
Those of you who wish to join me, those of you who stood, meet me. Meet me just outside of Yanuma. There is an enclave there where my forces gather. Make your way there, and we will strike together.
And he departs. The old snake then says,
This is the main issue that we are going to be discussing. If you wish, you can remain. We have a few other things to discuss amongst the elders. It is not often that we have all of us together in such numbers. Otherwise, depart back to your battlegrounds and be prepared for whatever decision or action the Empire will do as revenge for such an act.
At this point, the gathering breaks apart, and many of the members here depart. Some kind of form up and gather together. Is there anything that you would want to do while you were here?
Let's see. I'm trying to think if I could find someone who is. I mean, we're the recoiling servants. If I could find someone who's like really good with poisons.
Oh yeah.
And tell them about Sakamoto Echo's poison and see if they know what it is.
There are several members here who practice different ways of the snake, which is one of the roads and one of the styles of fighting amongst the clan. And so it very specifically uses poisons and also develops an immunity to it. So as such, they are exposed to just about every poison the Empire has seen. They listen to your tale and the description of it, and one of them actually is like, I actually think I've heard of this poison. It's not from within our borders. That is a poison from the land of Seed and Blossom. It is a very, very slow poison, but it leads almost always to death. Whoever your healer is in your group, they must be quite accomplished.
It seems. Antidote to this.
What was
Is there
that?
any antidote? Oh, am I breaking up again?
Oh, no.
Okay. Is there any antidote to this poison?
None that we know of, but if your healer is managing to counteract it, that is very impressive. But any other answer to that would be in the borders of that land. And that is a land far to our southeast, I believe. I might have to change that. I'm pretty sure that's where it is, though.
Yeah, no worries. I don't have the map in front of me either. Okay. Well, yeah, that's the only other thing I can think to do besides just go meet up with my monitor.
Okay.
As much as I would like to hear what the elders are saying, Saburo is not super interested.
Okay. All right. So your character departs. Probably do you go ahead and stay the night there?
Yeah, I'll stay the night and meet up with them. I guess I'm supposed to meet up in the morning.
Yeah. Well, Yanuma is a village that is not really much of a village anymore. It's on the west coast of this province, so you're going to be traveling for well over a week to get there.
Okay.
And it once was a very well-to-do village, but the war has seen it basically just come apart. There really aren't any, there are still people that live there, but the government has fallen apart, and you've actually heard discussion of Yanuma. Go ahead and let's see. I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah. You remember that one of the families, one of the groups that had attended the meeting with Sakamoto Echo, you remember that one of the families that present was a group of nobles, or a noble that had been displaced from Yanuma.
Okay.
And so, just an odd thing that rings in the back of your mind was that, this is the second time this has come up, kind of. That's odd. But you, in the next morning, wake up and depart. There are several members of the Recoiling Serpents that were present that are traveling as well. You find a group of about 10 to 16. I mean, it's a pretty sizable group, and they're all willing to travel together, working together, ambushing Imperial guards along the way, small patrols, and you make your way northwestward to the outskirts of Yanuma to meet up with Onimaru. You travel through, across trenches, areas that have seen great battles, swamps, rivers. I mean, you see the swath of this province, but this is also your home province, so you are very familiar with it. And the numbers that you are traveling with, there's really nothing that poses much of a threat to you. So you travel beyond, and one of the other members of this group know exactly where this little enclave is that you're going to be meeting up. You arrive, and it's a kind of a swampy area, but one filled with equivalent of mangrove trees, just roots gnarled and trees very close together. For anyone else, it would be very hard to move through here, but it's like with a serpentine grace, all of your band just almost meld into the trees, moving through the area, going deeper and deeper into this copse. And eventually it opens up, and you find yourself in a large group of other recoiling serpents. You would say that here there are probably close to 60 members. And most of them show signs basically of a symbol of a fang dripping venom. And this would very much denote that they are members of Onimaru's group specifically. The moment that y'all arrive, there is a call, whistle that sounds out, and everyone stands, and Onimaru strides out of one of the tents, and he looks amongst the group. You are the ones who have come. Very good. I appreciate your bravery and your willingness to fight. We will depart tomorrow. We have an idea of where we can ambush the caravan. We will set our traps, and we will be ready. Enjoy your time amongst your brothers and sisters here. And this goes right back into the tent. But the members here, seeing all of you, you're giving actually a very warm greeting, much more warm than what you got at the large conclave. They walk up, they embrace you as brothers, thrust a bottle of sake into your hand, and invite you to their fire. So, is there anything that you're going to be doing here?
I'd like to see or if many of these guys have been to Denketsu and what they think about this whole cooperation with the other ninja clans and everything like that. And because I know we're sort of loners among the ninja.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
A couple of them, the vast majority of them do not appreciate Danketsu. They're like, we really have no intention of being there. Everyone, knows that the Recoiling Serpents are the largest and strongest clan, and we are their fangs. And that's pretty much the way they phrase it. A couple of them, like one or two of them, when you mention Danketsu, spit on the ground. I mean, they have a strong distaste for the Lotus Coalition. So, is there anything else you're going to be doing?
I don't think so, because I think I still have that damage poison
Yes.
that I made in the first game. Because I used the knockout poison, but I don't think I
Yeah.
ever used the damage poison. So I've still got that. I don't really feel that making more poisons would help me a whole lot.
Okay. All right. So the next day, everyone gathers together and you move in mass out of this copse of trees and to the northeast. Onamaru actually kind of takes the lead, walking ahead of the group and guiding all of you to probably one of the driest patches in the area. And obviously this is a road that sees travel. This is where the caravan will come through. My spies have told me. So we will prepare here. I think that... He kind of rubs his chin looking around the area and walks a bit. We'll set up 2 flanking attacks to take out the middle of the caravan. I will need a few to join me. I will handle the troops. My understanding is that there are Imperial guards who will be guiding and protecting the caravan at the head. So I will handle them with my select few. The rest of you will attack the main caravan. I understand that there are a few members of the Imperial Army that are riflemen, and I do believe there are a few members of the Golden Lions in their number. He says that actually with a chuckle. Of course, such things are not threats for us. Kill them, and kill the family when they arrive. But wait for my signal. There are plenty of opportunities to hide yourselves here. Create whatever traps and whatever illusions you need. But we will strike when they arrive. And everybody nods, and they set to their tasks. It looks like a group, him and about 3 other members, begin to kind of work the ground at the head of the, at one section of the road, digging it up, removing some of the dirt, and a few of the others, majority of others, spread out through these tall reeds and grass, and kind of make equivalent of a ghillie suit, you could say. They essentially pull up sod and strap it to clothing, and make some holes in the ground that they can hide in, little foxholes, and cover themselves and cover the area up with the dirt. What are you going to be doing?
We can't see the caravan yet.
No.
It's okay. Does Onamaru, did he give any indication as to when that would be coming by, or just soon?
He really didn't give any indication. It could be an hour, could be hours.
To start any jutsus yet. It's a common thing with me, apparently. Both characters have it. But so I'm kind of planning on using that to just like stand right by the road and start killing stuff. But I think for now, let me join the people who are tolls and sort of concealing themselves that way.
Okay.
And if I want to change it up towards the end, I'll pop out and do the unnoticed.
So you set about the foxholes and preparing out there. All told, I mean, this is, imagine 47 ninja preparing, digging, getting themselves ready, and by the time everyone is concealing themselves, it is as if nothing was out of place. You disappear into your foxhole with just the slightest visibility, a little bit of a hole or a slit in the sod that you can watch from, looking out. You are there for a couple hours, waiting and watching. But then you begin to hear that kind of a rumble, the sound of footsteps moving in unison, the sound of carts and carriages, and you know that the caravan must be approaching. As you are sitting there, you hear from one of the other foxholes nearby, "Wait for Onimaru's signal before we do anything, brothers. We will take them by surprise." And you see eventually the caravan, probably about 100 yards away, approaching, using the main road. There are about 20 members of the Imperial Guard leading this procession. They dressed in armor. They're kind of a very ragtag look to them. They're coming out of the swamps, so they are dirty. They are a little bit mucked up, but they look very disciplined. But this is the first group, and it proceeds ahead of about 2 wagons and 2 carriages. And alongside these carriages, you do see other members of the Imperial Guard, and the armor on a few figures catches the light just right, and there's a kind of a goldish gleam to it, and yeah, there are definitely some golden lions amongst them. And at the same time, there are a few, probably a few this mercenaries amongst the group. But they all proceed, and you watch it. I mean, it's that feeling of adrenaline that begins to course through your body. And this is probably the moment where you're going to want, if you have any jutsus that you want to kick off preemptively before the combat starts, this would probably be the point where you'd want to do it.
I think I'm good. I think what I want to do is I want to apply some of that damage poison to an arrow.
Okay.
I'm going to be having my bow out at the first of this.
All right. And so, just the adrenaline coursing through your body, but you're staying vigilant, and you're disciplined. And you can feel the air kind of crackle with energy from different areas around you. You know other members of your clan are beginning to activate some of their jutsus, pulling some of the ki into their body. And you get a feeling like you see on one of the carriages there's a member of the Golden Lions, and it's like he's looking around as if he realizes something is out of place, but the caravan, he's not doing anything. It's like the caravan is still moving on, and they're all of a sudden the horses, they're the first to realize something is up, and the horses on the lead cart rear and kind of shift and buckle, and that all the carts come to a halt. The two carriages and the 2 wagons just halt, and the troops are still kind of moving ahead. And you watch from the slit as it's almost like the ground that they walk upon becomes quicksand. It's like their feet begin to sink into the dirt there in front of them. And they stumble and they trip, but there's something more to it. It's as if, imagine the reaction a person has to an earthquake, to a shaking, where they begin to stumble around. They're losing their balance. And you now are noticing that it's more than just quicksand. There are things moving through the soil, and these things become visible. It is serpentine, it is scales, it is the colors of crimson and black and brown, and these are large snakes that begin to encircle all of the guards at the head of this caravan. This is what they have walked onto. This is the trap that has been set. And they begin to sink into this dugout area, screaming and shrieking as these constrictors, large ones, begin to basically bind them and bite them. And in the midst of them, you see a serpentine form emerge. And it is, imagine a half man, half snake, but with the visage in the face of Onimaru. And he looks out at the caravan, the people left, because at this point, with the aid of his creatures, 16 Imperial guards just went under the soil and are being killed and crushed. Their screams filling the air, but his war cry calls out over all of them. And he holds out a sword to his side, but just imagine this serpentine form where from the waist down it is a large snake. And you hear his war cry, and the war cry is echoed from all around, from every foxhole. And you feel this feeling, just of anger and rage and pride filling your belly. How do you respond?
I give a war cry too, and I'm gonna pop out and pop off a shot because round.
Okay. Is there anyone in specific you're going to be trying to shoot?
I'd like to target that golden lion who was driving the cart.
All right. So at this point, marksman is going to be your main skill that you're going to be using, just because it's the bow. But you actually have an opportunity to use a couple different ones, different other skills to add to that. You could go for discipline, deception, stealth. How would you like to do this?
I think speed might be good because I've tried to jump out ahead of everything.
Okay. All right. And remember, descriptions. The more description you give, it can add a dice to your roll. So, did you want to describe that in a specific way, or you just want to go for it?
So I'm gonna. Is yelling. I'm gonna pop out, roll forward with my bow, and I'm gonna rear back, let off a shot at this golden lion who was seeming to notice us, but make sure he doesn't get too quick on that carriage if he can try and go forward.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. So go ahead and add that +1 to your total. So how many dice are you going to be rolling?
Okay, so I got 2 for marksman.
Mm-hmm.
I have 4 for speed.
All right, so that's 6, and +1 is 7. And do you want to? Let's see. At this point, you could use your key, or you could use. What's the name of the other one? Karma. You're the only one present, so essentially you only have 1 karma, but you could go ahead and use that as well to go ahead and add to your attack.
I'm gonna hold off on it.
Okay.
Because I also get a +1 speed when making a surprise attack. So I'm gonna just go with these dice.
All
right. That is 6 successes with 1 boost. And
so did that include did that boost, was that included in there?
Yes.
All right.
So that I got 2 8s, 2 9s, and a boost.
All right, so 6 total. And this was also with the poison, so I'm going to say it's at 7 successes. All right. And let's see here. I don't think he's going to be able to react in time, but we'll go ahead and give him benefit of the doubt. 1 second there. And no. Your arrow strikes true, striking him directly in the side, right below the arm, sliding in, and he kind of buckles to the side and falls off the wagon. So you're not certain entirely if you killed him, but that would have normally killed any other man. So, and from all around you, other members of your clan this emerge out of the ground. Arrows, shuriken, other throwing implements, even axes, are being thrown through the air and striking targets. This is brutal combat. People begin to draw swords and run out, from the caravan, trying to strike. A few shots ring out. You did come out of the ground, so there are going to be a few people. There are a few riflemen on top of the carts on the caravan, and they are going to try to shoot at you, or at least one is. There's so many targets at this point, they are kind of reeling from the interaction. And so that is going to be 4. So if you want, you can either go ahead and try and dodge this attack, but that will essentially... we need to... So from here on forward, we're going to need to go ahead and roll your dynamic actions. So go ahead and let's get that taken care of, so we know how many actions you have around.
I've got 3 dynamic dice still, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I do not get any extra.
All right. So you have 1 action. So you could use... there's 2 things you can do here. You can either spend a key and negate half the damage. That is one thing you can do. You could spend a key and use that if you have a power or other way to try and knock that down. I think you can use a karma, possibly. But the other thing you can do is if you want to use your 1 dynamic action to go ahead and dodge, you could. Otherwise, it's going to be 4 damage.
And the way that damage works in this, because I don't know that I've ever actually taken any damage.
Yeah.
Would that get all 4 of my lowest health?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You never know how these things work. Can I try to dodge it?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
So dodging is going to be a simple, this is a get out of the way action, so you could use speed, you could use athletics. Those are going to
be... I think speed and athletics is going to be my best bet.
Okay.
Because of my self-ward thing in my background, I get a +1 speed when dodging. So I'm just...
Okay.
4, 5 successes. Got 3 sevens and 3s.
Okay. So you dodge out of the way, and that will essentially keep you from getting hit. At this point, members of your clan are rushing past, just engaging in melee combat. And, engaging in melee combat. There are all sorts of things taking place all around you. There is, at this point, Onimaru even, he leaves the pit of snakes behind, and his form just walks forward. It's kind of a amazing thing. This is things you've known your clan can do, but you've never seen actually done. His mouth disengages, the jaw stretches open, and you watch as a fully formed, fully healed Onimaru in a human form comes out of this snake body. And he's, clothed, carrying his sword, and just strides off, and this, what is left behind is essentially this husk. And it is the serpent skin and what's left of this body. And it's, it is just, it is terrifying, and it is intimidating, and it is amazing, because this is something that you one day hope you can do. But essentially, he just is walking forward, and now he's engaging in melee with what is left of the guards at the front of this caravan. So go ahead and roll your dynamic actions again.
Nice. I got a boost, but that's it. So.
All right, but that's that'll give you 2 additional dynamic actions. You have 3 this round.
Awesome.
So, what are you going to do with your 3 actions?
Okay, so I would like to put the bow up, draw the katana, and run forward.
Okay.
I don't think that's using the dynamic actions yet, has it? Or
if you're running to engage, if that that could be one action, but if you have a specific target in mind, like if you see one of your clan members is fighting another one, you can rush in and attack that one as well. Or if you have a specific target, you can essentially rush forward and attack, but that would become part of your description, which I would say speed obviously would be one of your skills you would use.
Well, one of the things I definitely want to do this turn is use Flame Arrow.
Okay.
I have that jutsu.
All right.
Target one of the carriages.
Okay.
Because
So
we haven't seen any people, any of the Hanos come out of the carriages yet, have we?
no, you haven't.
Okay, so I'd like to target, let's say, the front carriage of the 2.
All right. So you're going to be activating this jutsu. So go ahead and tell me what's your activation roll for that one.
Okay, so it is Yang plus Marksman.
All right.
And because I am fire in nature, I should get a +1 to that.
All right. Okay, so you need to roll your activation. Now, it will still kick off even if you fail your activation, but you'll have the backlash happen if you fail it.
Okay.
So,
Okay, I got and a boost. So an 8 and a 0.
all right, so that's going to be 3 total. And
It's just a basic jutsu. So
yeah,
it
basic
should-
jutsu.
goes
So
on
you succeeded. And
Oh.
at this point, so your jutsu goes off. Does the write up on it say that you need to make an attack roll with it or anything else, or does it just go off?
It says you fire a flaming arrow from your palm, dealing 2 damage on a successful hit.
Okay.
On a boost, the target suffers a burn 1 condition, and it says on a boost, you can choose whether or not to ignite the point of contact.
Okay.
So I'm definitely going to want to make this fire as big as possible.
All right.
Fine.
So go ahead and, if you'd like, describe how this goes off. As always with the jutsu, jutsus always have a physical element to them. They affect the environment. They're very visual, very flashy. So what would people see?
All right, so I'm going to sling my bow across my shoulders, and I walk up. I'm going to be sort of doing this, these kind of martial artsy gestures, and as that happens, these concentric closing rings of orange light start to focus on my hand, and then I hold my left hand out flat, and this little arrow of fire about 12 inches long shoots out of it and hits this carriage and just explodes with fire and catches my side of the carriage on fire.
Okay. All right. So yeah, the arrow strikes the carriage and just ignites fire all over the side of it. Possibly, because it is a carriage and likely has some very high-end materials that's made out of, it catches like tinder. And that entire side is just burning. You hear scrambles from the inside, and people are now fleeing the carriage out the other side of the carriage away from you, away from the fire. The carriage in back, also now, people seeing this and seeing that this battle is going to go south on their side, they begin to stream out of it, and you see that this is likely the Hano's family. This is going to be a wife, his children, and possibly servants running away from the other carriage. In total, coming out on your side are 3 people, and they're fleeing outwards and away, running in towards the fields. But of course, all the mass combat is happening as well. So your clan members continue to fight. There is an individual who seems very disciplined, and he is holding his own right now against 3 members of your clan. It's as if while he is... there's a certain level of skill with him. Like, he is incredibly skilled with the sword, and it is taking 3 people to be equal to him in skill. But there's something else to it. There's a certain amount of tactics to it, and you see that what could be going on is that he is making himself a distraction. It's as if he is drawing people to fight him, and taking up as much resources for your side as possible for some reason. This, of course, in your mind, and also because you know that they have bases in this area. In your mind, something screams that this person is probably a Silver Blade.
Okay.
So, go ahead and roll your dynamic dice. Let's see what happens.
1 success.
1 success. So you will have 2 actually, you still have other actions from this previous round. I don't... We'll save those, so you'll have 2 actions in a moment, but you still have 2 actions from the previous round. You got your jutsu off. You still have 2 more things. What would you like to do from the previous round?
So I'm going to draw my katana, and I'm going to keep rushing forward. This whole Silver Blades thing, if I get tied up in that I'm going to miss out on the revenge.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna focus on the objective, and if he holds up people or kills people, then that's their problem, not my problem. So I'm gonna charge at this family as they're fleeing the carriage that's not on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And can I get to them, or are there people in my way?
I will say that if you wish to use 1 action to get to the nearest one, that will take up 1 action, and you'll be able to do that without having to worry about running into, you'd be able to avoid the other combats taking place.
Okay.
And then your last action would be an opportunity to attack.
Yeah, I'll do that then. I'll slip by the combat, and I will get to let's say I guess the wife probably.
Okay. So at that point, what 2 skills are you going to use to attack?
I think I'd be fighting in speed probably. That's a pretty good combo for me.
All right.
And I'm just come up, and no explanation, no preambles, just gonna slash. Is 3 successes, one of which is it's a 9 and a boost.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I forget what all a boost gets me.
In this game, it's one of those things where all that does is count as the additional success. So boosting is just one of the mistakes that I made calling it in the original game, because I have been playing other games that used a D10 system. So essentially all it is you've gotten 3 successes. So, and then basically dynamic dice can be used for other actions, and so can karma.
Cool.
So,
so 3 successes on that attack then.
all right. You slice along her back, and she falls to the ground crying out. Appearing in front of this group, a young woman of the Recoiling Serpent group strikes down one of the children that was running. And it's as if you appeared behind them, she appeared in front of them, and now there is only the wife and one other possibly either one of a concubine or possibly a servant that is standing there as well. But this is, combat continues all around. It seems to be going your way at this time, and of course Onimaru is just carving his way from the front end of the caravan. He's now made it to the first wagon and has already, with the troops that are amassing at the front, they're just sweeping back towards y'all. So go ahead and roll your dynamic dice.
Do we want to use that other roll that I did?
We can go ahead and do that. And that you said you would have 2 actions this round.
Okay. I am going to grab this girl, this servant girl, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the? Well, what am I doing? I'm gonna grab her and like pick her up a little bit by the front of her tunic or kimono or whatever she's wearing.
Mm-hmm.
As I throw her up against the side of the carriage and say, "Most family."
You say what?
I say, "Where's the head of the Hanos family?"
And she looks over at the burning carriage. So her eyes betray her. Basically looking into the carriage when you say that. So that is your first action. What are you going to do with your second action?
I'm going to sort of drop her to the ground. She's not super important to me, and I'm going to run around the other side because I saw there are people fleeing the carriage on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I see over there. Does anybody look a likely person to be important in this Hanos family?
Yeah, you see. Walking around the carriage, you hear behind you, more than likely, the young recoiling serpent, the woman that had come up. She basically strikes down the handmaiden or whatever she was. You hear her scream, and her scream silence behind you as you walk around the carriage. But looking out, you see 3 bodies of serpents on the ground. And you see an older gentleman wearing noble's clothing running into the grass. And you see also, it looks like there possibly is another figure running out ahead of him. You see the grass kind of splitting. I mean, it's tall reeds. And so there is definitely somebody there because the reeds are splitting, but you can't see who it is. So go ahead and roll your dynamic dice and see what happens this time.
1 success.
1 success, so you will have 2 actions this round. What are you going to do?
I'm going to charge off after him. Try and get this leader of the Hanos family.
All right. Let's go ahead and we'll make this a contested roll between the 2 of you. What are you going to use to catch up with him?
Definitely speed.
All right.
And athletics.
Speed athletics. All right. So your speed athletics, that's what he's going to do as well. I have 1 success.
Okay. I have, oh my god, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8
wow.
successes.
So that is going to be, let's go ahead, and you just gained 2 karma.
Nice.
Because you exceeded what you needed for this situation by 3 twice. So yeah, you now have a karma pool of 3 for this situation, and you are definitely going to catch up to him. What are you going to do with your next action?
I would like to work on this jutsu thing. I'm gonna I'm gonna do fire punch rather than going with my sword. I'm gonna work on that one. So that is yang plus might. Oh,
All right.
and on those, so I've spent 1 yang already. Roll 2 yang, or do I roll 1 now that I've only got 1 left?
We're going to go ahead and go with 2 for right now. Now, you can also use a karma if you want to add that to the roll.
For sure. I've got them. I might as well spend them.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, no.
Uh-oh, what happened?
It's the worst. I got 4, 4, 3, 5, 1. So that is a critical failure.
All right, so what that means is that you failed your activation roll for this jutsu, and so that means you get the backlash. What exactly does it say for when that happens?
It says take damage intended for the target or set stuff on fire. Also, I get a burn 1 condition. So take the burn 1.
So yeah, so you're going to have the burn condition, which...
And I will choose to set stuff on fire, so the grasses around me are on fire now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, with the burn condition, that means that you were going to suffer a 1 penalty, a 1 dice penalty to the level of it. So essentially, whatever your dice pool is for any other physical actions that you do, you're going to take away 1 dice.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. So the jutsu does not, you catch the entire area on fire. You get a burn 1. I'm also going to say, though, that it hits him as well. And he tosses off his jacket into the ground that has also caught fire. And he turns to face you, though. Basically takes up a very traditional, stance, and he is choosing to fight.
Right.
All right.
That is a bad decision for him, but we'll,
right.
We'll see how it goes.
So, go ahead and roll your dynamic dice.
All right. 1 success.
All right. So you have 2 actions. He will also have 2 actions this round. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to let you go first, just because my guess is your initiative is going to be better than his regardless.
If I got my katana out, I have an 8.
Yeah, definitely better than his. So I figured with all your speed-based stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so I'm gonna go. I'm just going in. I'm gonna attack, and I'm gonna go with fighting and athletics, I guess.
All right. And do you have any specific description for what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm going to. I think I already had my sword drawn, but I'm gonna sort of whip it around above my head. As the grass around us blazes, burned, and he is burned, as I've just turned this field into an inferno, I'm going to sort of leap, come down from high overhead, and strike a killing blow first off.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and add 1 dice for that.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so
Are you going to add any karma to this roll?
I don't think so. I hope I won't need it because I'm rolling 10 dice right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I've got the Wildcat fighting style where I get to add 2 fighting if I'm acting first in a round.
Okay.
Which I guess this counts as that. I don't guess
Yeah. Oh,
anyone
yeah.
else is acting
No,
first.
that this is it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, 4 successes out of that.
Okay. You strike with your blade across his chest, which has been, just bared in this combat, and it is a bloody wound. Unlike you, he does not have the ability to mold or shape ki to avoid any of this. So you have one more action if you want to try and strike him down before he attacks you.
Yes, I'm absolutely going to press the attack.
Mm-hmm.
For fighting and might on this one.
Okay.
I've come down, and I'm gonna sort of pivot and then sweep up and try and for him now that I've sort of made him focus upwards. So okay, I've got 4 fighting might. I'm gonna go ahead and add a karma as well. Okay. So that's the 2 that I've got, or that I've gotten. I still have 1 left, I think.
Okay.
Okay, that is 3 successes on that one.
Okay, and all right. Your blade flashes again, opening up a second ribbon of red across his chest, and the sword falls from his hand, and he buckles and falls forward onto his knees. He looks up to you, and with ragged breaths, is just looking at you and says, "Why?" And you have a moment. Are you just going to go ahead and strike him down? You can basically. This is a moment where you can. How would you like to do this?
All right. So I will grab his shirt up at the shoulder, right by his neck, down, right in front of him, get real close, and just say, "This is what happens when you betray the recoiling serpents." Now, I want to give him just a second if he's going to say anything there.
All right.
He's going to say anything?
Go ahead and give me a empathy perception.
Hey, 3 successes.
Okay.
That's pretty great.
There is a look in his eyes of shock, possibly disbelief, as if he does not understand what you're talking about.
Okay.
But at the same time, the battle is raging on around you, and Anumaru has made it almost back to the last carriage. This silver blade, you hear, he does something, and with a quick step and a turn, slices through essentially all 3 swords of the swordsmen facing him, and the blades of their swords, cut in half, springing out of their grasp and into themselves. And this silver blade turns to face Onimaru.
Well, I suspect that we've been lied to in some way, but Saburo is not one to hesitate, so I'm going to run this guy through.
Okay.
So just for good measure.
All right,
whip the sword out and get up and head back towards the main fight.
All right. At the same time, so you run him through, the blade burying into him. His face goes slack, the light goes out in his eyes, and he just slumps back, sliding off your blade. The the other recoiling serpent that had acted alongside of you, she appears at your side, pulls out a dagger, and throws it at whatever the form was moving through the grass besides him. And she just throws it, and you hear it find purchase, and you hear a scream out in the grass. And she nods to you and continues out after whatever it was.
Do I know her at all, or no?
You've never met her before, but it's obvious that she is quite capable as well. But at this point, is there anything else you're going to do? Because essentially everyone's going to be gathering around Onimaru in this Silver Blade. He is about the only one left from this caravan that is still alive.
I think at this point I would sheath the katana, grab the bow again. I'd be making my way back over to them, and as I'm making my way over, I'd like to try and dip another arrow in this poison, see how much I can get out of it.
Okay.
And then if it seems feasible, I'd like to climb up on the not burning carriage and try and get on its roof. One of the situation.
All right. So you're climbing on the roof of one of the wagons?
The carriage that the wife and the
okay, so one not on fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So that'll be your action then. Essentially, it looks like Onimaru and this Silver Blade are going to square off. They trade a few quick blows. Nobody landing anything. It's a battle between two people who are highly skilled. Onimaru, it seems unfazed, and this Silver Blade looks around the group. I mean, he knows he is surrounded. Is there anything you're going to do, or are you just watching at this point?
I've got that arrow drawn, and I'm kind of looking for an opening that if I can shoot this guy in the back, take it, because, fair fights are for suckers. I'd like to also scan out back where that other recoiling serpent was chasing down that person, mm-hmm. See if I can see anybody. I know the grass is very tall, though.
Yeah. Beyond the grass, it looks like it opens up into a clearing, and there is a tree, and you see a small child dragging themselves into the clearing with a dagger sticking out of their back, and you see that this is who the girl is walking towards.
Not a whole lot I can do about that. And I also don't think there's a whole lot Saburo would want to do about that. So to the main fight, I'm going to kind of try to divide my attention between the two. Mm-hmm. If it becomes clear that Onimaru is in any way in danger from the Silver Blade, I'd like to try and pop off a shot at him.
Okay. The next, as it progresses, the Silver Blade steps in to try and strike, and Onimaru catches the blade just below the hilt with his sword, holding the blade aloft, and spews venom out into the face of the Silver Blade. The Silver Blade drops his sword and just starts clawing at his face, falling to the ground. A few chuckles spread through the group just watching this. And after a few moments of suffering, Onimaru swings his sword and then swings it again to shake the blood off of it. And the man's head topples from his shoulders, and he slumps to the ground. So the combat is now at an end. Is there anything else you're going to be doing?
If I look back over at the recoiling serpent woman and this child,
you don't see any movement from that direction, and you see her walking back towards you, wiping the blood from her dagger on basically on the sleeve of her kimono. And she looks up at you and kind of shrugs and keeps walking back towards the rest of the group.
if I could swing down and go over to how on fire is this carriage that I set on fire now? Is it like totally gone?
It's not fully engulfed. If you approach from the side that is not on fire, you could at least look into it. But that's
I'd
about
like
all.
I'd like to try and look in and see if I can see any effects, any papers, any.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely several papers and other things on the carriage. In fact, there is a small chest, like not terribly big, like maybe 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, and so it's pretty much a square chest, wooden with metal hinges.
If I could nab that out of the carriage, that would be what Saburo is interested in.
Absolutely. So you grab it out, and eventually the carriage is just fully engulfed. Some of the members of the Recoiling Serpent, some of the members of this group just spread out and try to cut free the horses and, take them off. A few of them, especially the ones that are, strung up to the carriage that's on fire, they present too much of a risk and a danger to handle at this point. So basically arrows fly into the two horses pulling it, and they are killed. But
yeah, go ahead.
All right. So what are you going to do?
Can I get into this chest? Is it locked?
Now, it definitely has a large lock on it.
How would I go about picking that? I've no idea how that would work in this system.
Pretty much. This is one of those things where you can attempt to pop it off it's using skills, as always with any test. Some skills obviously aren't going to work well, but this is one that I think that possibly crafts and intuition, or crafts perception. This depends on how you choose to go about it, but I definitely do think crafts knowledge of how these things might work would play into it.
Right. Okay. I could do crafts and intuition.
All right.
And I'll add a karma.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, that'll be my last one for now.
Yeah.
One success.
How many successes?
Just one.
It does not pop open.
Okay. That's what I thought.
You feel you basically, a shadow passes over you, and you turn and you look up, and standing right next to you is Onimaru. He's looking at you and looking at it.
So I assume I sat down to do that or had it up against something. So I stand up and say, "It's I who killed the head of the Hanos." And I would go through his belongings, try and get the chest open before you saw it. But I don't have the right tools, or the lock is too complicated for me.
His smile, he just smiles at you, but it's a very long, almost very strange looking smile, as if his mouth has more teeth than it should. But he reaches into his coat and pulls out a vial and hands it to you and says, "Try this."
Like, pour it on the lock or drink it?
Pour it on the lock.
Gotcha.
Do you actually say that to him?
I think Saburo would know more what to do.
Just making sure.
Sure. I think Kanojo would say the joke, but Saburo kind of uncorks it, takes a whiff, and he'll set it on a carriage seat or something and pour it onto the lock.
The lock begins to kind of boil and bubble. Obviously, this is some sort of strong acid, and it begins to eat through the metal. And within moments, you could probably easily just pop the lock off at this point.
I'll get a dagger on one side of it and pry it open.
The lock pops off, and you're able to now get into the chest.
So is Onimaru standing by while I look at this stuff, or is he going to?
He's just standing. I mean, he's standing there watching.
So I'll look through, see what's all in it.
All right, you pop it open, and it was deceptively heavy. The interior of it is padded with a velvet cloth, and inside are a series of badges, gold badges with the symbol of the royal palace. And Onimaru says, I suspected as much. If you don't mind, may I have one of those?
Of course. So
He takes it and slides it into the arm of his kimono. Thanks. I take it that you are the one who slew the head of the family.
Yes.
Excellent. Our clan's vengeance has been sated. For you, I will offer you something special. Do you wish to join my fangs?
Would that be a full-time commitment, or am I free to move around as I please afterwards?
Quite honestly, it is a full-time commitment. Joining the Fangs is joining our group, fighting out here with your brothers against the Empire.
I must respectfully decline, Onimaru. I have obligations elsewhere.
Well, the invitation always stands. I need those who are willing to bury blades when the time comes. And he bows slightly to you and walks away.
Yeah, so we got badges of the Imperial House.
Mm-hmm. For those of us who for our audience listening to the show, these badges, these basically symbols, would be, if you've listened to our main show, the golden badges that would be used to attend the duel that is taking place in Daiwa.
Saburo doesn't have any way to know what that is, though.
No, he doesn't. This is one of those teasers where you as a player have a little bit of knowledge of stuff behind the scenes. Right. So try not to use it too much. But
okay, so is that all that's in here? Is there anything else in the chest, or is it just these badges?
Just those badges. People begin to ransack through things. I mean, you have the opportunity to take trophies if you so wish. There are papers and other things as well in the other carriage. And, of course, all the items that were on the wagons that were leading this procession as well. So there's quite a bit here. Is there anything your character would want to take as a trophy, such as even the sword from the head of the Hana family?
I think I'd go out back to the body of the Hano and at least take his sword. I'd burned his outer jacket, so that's probably gone.
There is a velvet bag that's hanging on his side. It would be wrapped in with his belt.
Yeah, I'll go through that as well.
Okay.
See what's in there.
There are personal effects, mainly. There's money. Are a few small trinkets. There is also a house seal.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely take that. And can I go to the wagons and see if there's a shovel in there?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
realized looking about Saburo.
Yeah.
Go out. Oh, go ahead.
No, we'll go ahead and say, yeah, sure, there's a shovel. People need to dig pits for many different reasons while they move across the country, either for privies or for places to build fires.
Yeah, so I'm gonna grab a shovel and going to go out where this child was, and this child was killed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to find him or her.
Okay.
Which is it?
It appears to be a young boy.
So Saburo is going to just start digging a small grave and takes essentially, and then he's going to lay the child as gently as he can in there. And I like that. He is going to put Father's sword in the grave with him, and then he's going to start covering it up.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's what he's going to do.
All right, and I think that might be a good note to end on, unless there's anything else that you definitely wanted to do. We're not going to be able to travel back at this point. We'll probably, if we have more sessions for our other group, our other team, we'll probably deal with aftermath from this situation. But other than that, I think this is a good point to go ahead and end it. Do you have anything else that you did want to do while you're out there?
No, I think I'm good. I think I'm just going to start making my way back. And I don't think I'm necessarily going to check in with anybody else either. I think I'm just headed out from here, and I'm going to go back to Dunketsu even. Because the other recording serpents, that's not like a permanent thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and call the game there. And I really hope that everybody enjoyed themselves with this little teaser and link back to our other team, as well as other ways in which the plot is progressing all across the Empire. So thank you guys, and take care.